So let's talk about product validation and how you can go about that. I've got a few ways you can do it, but before we get to that, just want to reiterate, if you haven't caught on to this yet, that you have to slow down with the product you're building. I know you're excited, but you need to validate demand for your product long before you start building it. Otherwise, you're going to put lots of energy into building this thing and no one's going to want it. More importantly, no one's going to pay you for it. And by the way, that is the very best product validation that exists, is getting paid for your product. Now, you may say to yourself, how can I get paid for my product if I haven't even built one yet? Well, this happens all the time in all kinds of industries. You can do it in SaaS. You can do it with real estate, right? Real estate is a great example. In larger cities where they're building high rises, they will build very small parts of the high rise, and then they will put someone in there that's promoting what's going to be built up above in the penthouse and all these things. And then when they go to show someone that's interested in the penthouse to it, it's a shell. It's not even a real product. It's just kind of the idea of what it could be. And so the best way to validate your product is to pre-sell it as much as possible. And one of my favorite ways to do that is using crowdfunding type campaigns. Now, crowdfunding campaigns have challenges as it relates to raising capital, but in validating demand for a product, crowdfunding campaigns work pretty well. If you don't know what a crowdfunding campaign is, you go on websites like Indiegogo or Kickstarter or others, and you can post what you're building on there. And it's a lot like Product Hunt that I believe I've talked about earlier, where people can come on and sort of vote if they like your idea. Whereas with Product Hunt, they're just voting for it, and then they link out to some place that you could buy, like this book that's associated with this course. People are able to go buy that under a pre-sale, which is another way to validate an idea. On sites like Kickstarter and Indiegogo, more so, they're actually committing dollars. So they're not just upvoting something, that an idea of yours. They're actually saying, hey, if this gets built, I'll buy it. Now, the way that works on the inside is the people who are saying that and spending their money, making deposits, basically, they get their money back if the product never comes to life or a certain funding goal is not hit. But that's why I like crowdfunding campaigns. You can say, hey, I'm building a barn. Let's pretend you post on there, hey, I'm building a modular building site of a barn using storage boxes, big, large storage metal bins, right? And so you can post that on there, and people who like your idea can come and say, hey, as soon as this is ready, I'm interested. And by the way, here's my deposit. Here's my $10,000 for that bin. You could do the same thing for a movie. You're wanting to start a movie. You're trying to validate demand for it. Post the concept for the movie and maybe some art, things like that don't require a lot of effort. Post it out there and see how many people come and say, hey, when this movie's made, I'll give you my $25. Matter of fact, I'll give you my $25 now. You just refund it if you never make the movie. That's one way that you can use those types of sites to really go out and validate demand for something. Again, the idea is putting as little effort you need into a prototype or some wireframes or images of what you say you're going to build, and then getting people to buy it based on just that information. That is the best validation there is. Validation is not going out and talking to your friends about your idea, them telling you that you're brilliant and you validated the idea. That is not product validation. Now, another way that you can validate a product's demand, and this is particularly helpful, what we call enterprise products that are going to be sold to very large enterprises, very large corporations, is you can do proofs of concept. I'm a very small angel investor in a financial technology company, and they are doing a lot of proof of concept, or POCs, with potential customers. What their product does is it analyzes business credit in a brand new way that is not done today. And they are going to all types of business loan providers, and they are doing proofs of concepts with them, meaning they partner with them. They are taking a prototype of their solution and inserting it, integrating it into the business lender's current process. They're seeing how what they add adds value to that lender. The lender gets to see that output. And so they're using that to validate demand, because imagine at the end of this proof of concept, the fintech, the financial services company, is going to say, hey, that worked really well for you. How would you like to pay for it? So that's not necessarily someone paying up front for your product. But with proof of concepts, sometimes you can get paid to do those. You may not just get paid the full asking amount that you're going to charge along the way. So let me give you an example of a proof of concept process. So you could identify a target customer. So we're going to pretend that I'm building a product called AI Assist, and it's a chatbot, and I'm going to do a proof of concept with customers. So I identify the type customer I want to work with, and I find a customer named Mega Retail that I want to work with. And so I go and I call on Mega Retail and I say, hey, I got this really cool AI-based chat system for online. It can help your customers. It can help you with better customer support, reduce wait times, and it can help you improve customer satisfaction. And so Mega Retail in this example says, that sounds great. Let's do a proof of concept. They're not necessarily buying it. They may give you a little bit of money for that type of thing, but you've got the use case where you can go out and validate that it does what it's supposed to do. So the next step with Mega Retail is you say, great, we're going to do this proof of concept. We're going to define the objectives and the scope. So you may say, okay, here's the objectives that we want to accomplish for you. We're going to reduce your customer support response time by 20%. We're going to increase customer satisfaction by 10%. And we're going to handle 50% of common inquiries. So instead of a person having to answer this, the chatbot is going to store good answers to common questions, and it's going to handle it. Then as a proof of concept, you may go in and develop a tailored solution. So you may have worked with them and said, okay, this is what our chatbot does, but specific to Mega Retail, it's going to now learn your product catalog, and it's going to have common questions about each product stored so that when someone puts that in the chatbot, it can respond. It's going to save all the transcripts so we can use that extra data in the future. And we're going to brand the chatbot with Mega Retail's website branding and identity. Then you would deploy the bot and test it. Along the way, you're gathering data and analyzing that data to see if what you had planned to build into this fake product is accomplishing what you wanted. So you would look at things like average response time, customer satisfaction ratings, those types of things. After all of this, you sit down with, in this example, Mega Retail, this fake company, and you say, hey, we did a proof of concept. Here were the objectives. Here are the outcomes. What do you think? They're giving you feedback. You can take feedback that makes sense and make adjustments to the product along the way. You might then go do another proof of concept with another large, Mega Retail number 2, a competitor of Mega Retail, and you've learned all these things along the way. And so you're providing them a better product and you're iterating over and over and over through this proof of concept. What's great about this in terms of validation is they are basically helping you develop the roadmap for your product. They may come back and say, hey, what you did was really cool, but it was missing this particular feature, and I think this is important. You go out, take that information, ask other potential proof of concept folks if that sounds good. If they all say that feature is really important to us too, suddenly you have a new feature that you add to your product, and over, you end up with this product that is really dialed in and satisfies what customers are looking for. And that is an enormous part of product validation. If you didn't do this proof of concept effort, you would build the product, spend all kinds of money and time trying to get it exactly the way you want it to be. Then you would show up at Mega Retail and they would say, you're missing 5 features that I would really want. When all you had to do was do a proof of concept, and they would lead you right to the answers. And finally, when you're doing these proof of concepts, if it goes well, there's interest. Otherwise, they wouldn't let you test your product with them. Since there's interest, you just have to deliver on what they're looking for. And at the end of the proof of concept, if it's gone well and you can quickly add new features that they demand in order to buy your product, you suddenly have established a pipeline of people who are interested in buying the product. So product validation is very important so that you're not spending too much time building things. You can work in conjunction with prospective customers and/or customers and let them help you figure out the best thing to build so that when you go to every other subsequent prospect, the product does exactly what they want, you look brilliant, and you've got customers.